Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 5 of our 16x book club challenge with myself and Dee. Dee's just coming on. I'll give a little bit of an intro. So, what we're doing here is going through a chapter of the 16x book every single day. And the purpose of this book is to use the 80/20 principle to create 16 times better performance, even up to more better performance. And the 80/20 principle states that with 20% of your effort, you can create 80% of your results. So here we are. Today is day 5, and we're going to be looking at chapter 6, Do It Your Way.
Yeah. Hello. Going.
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
All right. Let's start it. Today's been a crazy kind of day. Just like uh, this
Yeah.
morning. So I might be a little bit out of it, but I'm sure you'll be able to carry the load. A bit tuned out. Not tuned out, but I'm just a bit tired.
Mm, yeah, that's okay. Your audio is cutting out a little bit. I hope that doesn't happen again. But I think it'll be okay. Oh, you said okay, and we didn't hear you. We just saw your mouth move.
Oh, really? Okay, you know what? Let me leave and come back in, okay?
Okay, cool. Okay, so what's up, everyone? How are you doing? I see Stevan is here. Sharoop is here. Who else is here? How you guys doing? Um, let's see. So yesterday we talked about defying the tyranny of routine, and in that, yeah. So I said I wasn't going to do anything on purpose yesterday, and even today, it's been so beautiful for me. I don't know if any of you actually went ahead and tried that, breaking that routine, not just externally but also internally with your thinking and your patterns that you may be following. But yeah, Dee, I was just saying that about the little bit of an impact that defying my routine has had. Not that I had a routine, anyways, but just looking deeper into myself over the last 24-ish hours. But
Right.
yeah,
Right. Okay, cool. Good. Um, I think, to be honest, I haven't had a whole lot of chance to actually think and apply. Just since yesterday, things have been really crazy. So I do have to spend some time coming back and taking a look at that. It's definitely like a practice and a discipline that I put into place, generally speaking, in my life because I do have routines because I have a daughter and I have to have a routine. I mean, otherwise it's impossible to function in my life. But it's always like coming back and looking at the habits that I feel are not very self-serving. I think the one that I mentioned yesterday, which is caffeine first thing in the morning, it just does not serve me well. And it took me a long time to get off that specific habit of being that's the first beverage I go to because there's so much association with caffeine. It's like the smell, the comfort, you feel a sense of security. There's just
yeah,
layers and layers of any specific habit. So when you're looking at a specific habit in your routine that's not serving you, I think you also have to be compassionate with yourself because you do have to understand that there's deep layers of association with that specific routine. That's why it's there in place. It otherwise it would have never stuck if it didn't give you some sort of psychological comfort, right? So when you're thinking of like dropping it, it's not this like over masculine, yeah, we're gonna drop it and move on. You kind of have to understand that it's giving you something. So if you do decide to drop it, what are you substituting it with?
I mean,
And
and this comes down to what's the cue for the habit, and then replacing it with a different habit, right?
yeah,
And
what is it that'll come in to take its place? Because otherwise, something else that doesn't serve you will come in place, right? That's
yeah,
people that will be in recovery. They'll get off a certain addiction, whether it's alcohol or it could be anything really, but let's say alcohol, for example. And if they haven't replaced that with something that's nurturing and transformative for them, then it'll be a shopping addiction that'll take over, a work addiction that'll take over. So it's really important that we don't leave a vacuum when we're like trying to replace a habit. So this chapter defying the tyranny of routine runs far deeper than we imagine. It's a very small chapter, but its implications in our personal life can be pretty deep.
yeah, exactly. And even for myself, I noticed a lot of it has been in my thinking, and I've actually been paying attention to this over the last how many days, I think actually for the last 2 weeks, I've just been observing and being like, what is it? A certain kind of hesitation, a certain kind of negativity seeps into my thoughts. And that had become a certain kind of a routine. So as I observe that, I'm like, you know what? This is not serving me. And the exercise that I gave myself was to just take a step back and be like, is it serving me or not? Is this true or is it not true? If it's not true, I go back, it's not true. I actually don't know. And then I create a fire and I just like burn that falsehood into the fire. And that's been my internal process. I mean, if anyone who's watching, you can try that.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
we will join. So I'll just say, hey, we're the book club for this book. Very, very small book, but it's so powerful in just some pillars of this book. So what are we doing today? We're
Yeah.
doing a chapter called Do It Your Way.
Chapter 6, Do It Your Way. And I've already read the book before, but just looking at today, and especially I just want to add the fact that we're having these discussions, and I'm going back and after the discussions trying to do something, even in a small way, from what I've learned and applying it. And then coming back and reflecting together, this co-reflection in the space is having a pretty big impact. So whoever's joining in, if you, whether or not you're watching, even if you're not watching the live, if you go through the series and you just go through a chapter a day and you watch the video, I feel it could be very powerful for you. So I just wanted to drop that in here. So yeah, chapter 6, Do It Your Way. Very, very impactful. So I had a few notes that I took. One thing was leveraging tasks that put you into the zone, which is, yes, we don't always have the freedom to do what we want to do or what we're really good at, but it reminded me to leverage my zone of genius, particularly in what I'm doing right now, because I've noticed that over the last 2 weeks, a lot of activity ramped up. And then yesterday I decided I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to take a step back and take a look and see what I need to do. And a lot of it were things that I knew that I realized I don't want to do anymore. Because in terms of where I want to go and to make that happen quickly, a lot of stuff I'm just going to have to cut out. It doesn't mean at some point I won't have to pick it up, but today there's no point for me to do it considering exactly where I'm at. And just creating that distance, I got to see that. So what do I need to leverage that creates the biggest impact and what I'm really good at? And something else that was mentioned was doing things you love and becoming one-pointed in that pursuit as opposed to trying to be an all-rounder and do everything.
Yeah.
And that was like so powerful. And I have a question that was mentioned in this, which was, anytime you're faced with a difficult challenge, stop to ask yourself one simple question. How would I tackle this task if I made myself use only my signature strengths? The answer will likely surprise yourself and other observers. It probably will suggest a totally new way of dealing with the issue at hand. But these are just a few takeaways I really wanted to share. Dee, I rushed through them, but
Because the thing is, especially for entrepreneurs, and there's a couple of people on here that are entrepreneurs that want to be entrepreneurs, you feel that you have to be able to do everything.
exactly.
And the most important thing for an entrepreneur to realize, and I've been an entrepreneur for a better part of my life, like the past decade, having gone through multiple businesses and built them up, I realized that the more you play up your strengths and you hire for your weaknesses, that's where you become a power machine. So it's taken me a while. It's not something that I need to learn per se, of how to play up my strengths. It is a discipline that I have developed over the last decade, but I definitely remember early in my journey, I felt like I had to know how to do everything. And it is such an energy dissipator. Like, it's such an energy robber, thinking that you have to know everything. So I'm glad you brought that up. It is a really great takeaway from the chapter. For me, I just wanted to read a couple of things from the chapter. I find that the quote that they always start with is impactful. So I like what he says here, which high performers are not 10 times more intelligent than other people. It is the methods and resources they use that are usually powerful.
So I'm just going to read that again because you were cutting out a little bit, and on my side it'll be clear, especially for the viewers who aren't live. High performers are not 10 or 20 times more intelligent than other people. It is the methods and resources they use that are unusually powerful.
Yeah. And then there's another one, which is 30, which I've like put 5 stars next to on both sides, which means I really like it.
Wow.
uh, which is exactly what you said. It's like, but the distinctive strengths that we have, that's the 20% spike. And that
Hmm.
exercise that spike on a daily basis, like you cultivate it, you become super obsessed with what your natural strengths are.
Hmm.
That's how you become more powerful. So this myth that you have to be brilliant or intelligent and have certain kinds of brilliance in order to be successful is that it's just a myth. And brilliance according to whose standards, right? Who's these people that set arbitrary standards of who's intelligent versus not intelligent? It's so I think realizing that we each have individual gifts that are very unique only to us, and then cultivating that obsessively is a discovering our own self, knowing where our self worth lies, and then effectively cultivating those areas where we're just naturally gifted. You don't have to try that hard, you know. And each one of us has that. So I just love that. And then he says, "This is the most powerful you. It's where your passion lives, where your best potential can be found. Instead of worrying about strengthening the other 80%, file the edge of your 20% spike. Being sharply pointed can make you far more effective and happier than being well rounded." So, like an arrow versus a golf ball or something, you know.
Hmm.
Each. So, I really love these two.
Yeah, no, that's really cool because I was thinking about something similar too, which is coming in and I'm like, okay, what should I work on? Okay, there's like 50 things I can do, but what is the one thing that I can do that will make the biggest difference that I'm good at that is most needed in this situation in terms of where I want to go? And when we also talked about leveraging your uniqueness, the most important thing that is important that I notice is to get to know yourself. Like, what is it that you're good at? What is it that you actually enjoy doing? And what is that the 20% spike that that he mentions? What is that for you? These are a few simple things, but growing up and going through the schooling system, it's not something that is revealed to you. In fact, it's not even something that anybody talks about. It's like every single one of you hit this standard of like 50% in this course, and we'll move you on to the next thing. But they're not preparing the individual based on their
You
their
know,
gifts and capabilities that are unique to them, or
yeah.
even having them, or even encouraging them to look at what that is.
So my question for you, and this might really help the people that are watching, is that
Mm-hmm.
what have you discovered for yourself through reflection? Because nobody's told you this, you've had to do this as a process of self-discovery. What are those two strengths that you've discovered at your spike, your 20%?
Yeah, I don't know how to exactly put it into words because if you when it comes to two things, it comes to a little more than two. But I'll just say one is reflection, but the other is also application. So the reflection is internal, but as I apply, I get data, and then I can reflect on that data and see how effective I am. So what I mean by this is, quick example, I've always been somebody who's built a lot of teams. So when I studied engineering, there were a lot of things I didn't know how to do, but I was always somehow creating the teams with somebody who was like really, really good at CAD, for example. And I didn't know shit about that. And like, I realized that, oh, somehow I'm able to facilitate these interactions and create great results by leveraging what I know, by stitching things together, and just communicating and storytelling in a beautiful way. And more recently, as I've been coaching over the last several months, I realized, and I mean like actually coaching. I've like helped people in coaching type situations before, like when I was volunteering for Hacking Health and things like that. But here, now I have one-on-one clients, and there I realized the impact I make just by simply being there and pointing to them. So it's like this mixture of like the internal and the external and the clarity or perception and how I can actually bridge that with my communication and interweave it to create massive results. So
Right.
I don't know if that it might sound a little strange, but it's because I don't think everybody can relate to it the way that I said it.
Yeah, I
Um,
elaborate actually because I have the exact same. That is my that I have the exact same strength. So the
mhm,
strength, from what I've heard you say, and this is my strength as well, is that I also have the ability of bringing together people and getting to them to work towards a common vision. And the example that I would give is that when we were creating Fast Forms, I'm not an engineer. I have no engineering background. I've never worked for a day in my life at a tech startup. I'd never worked for anybody else that was doing tech. But when I had that opportunity to create Fast Forms, well, thanks to my husband, I had that opportunity. It was very much, I realized that I have the ability to set a vision for the product and for the idea and bring the right people together, whether it's the product managers or the engineers, and then essentially select the right people to lead the teams, and then move towards that vision. So it's the exact same thing, which is, I would say that the 20% spike for me comes from being able to see a vision that other people don't necessarily see, and then communicate that through the power of stories and move people to that vision. And most of the times I used to feel like an imposter, to be totally honest, because I used to think, wow, I have none of these skills myself. And the entire time I was building Fast Forms, I had such imposter syndrome because I felt like I personally have none of these skills. And if all these people were to quit tomorrow, I would be totally effed. Like I would never be able to run with this, right? But then I realized, I don't need to have all of those skills. And I think it only came from the success of Fast Forms. We got acquired, I realized, okay, there is a lot of value in people that are able to set a vision towards something that's not accessible to everybody else. And through storytelling, which is a form of leadership, lead people towards that common vision. So, and this is like the skill that I have honed over and over and over and over again. So just by practicing it, and I realized that that's all that I need to hone, and then come. And the right people who want to be led will come, and there's somebody that wants to lead, so then the right people that want to be led will come. And that's exactly what's happening with Mahi right now, because I'm not a farmer, I'm not an urban grower, I have no experience in the urban food system at all, or in building communities this way, but the right people are coming, and all I'm doing is like setting the vision, telling the story, and then taking the steps, and then bringing people with me. So I would say that's an example of how I've discovered, and it's taken me a decade to discover this. It's not an overnight job by any means. It's taken me a decade. And I realized, I'm not very good at things that require very deep technical skills. And I've decided not to be the one to be responsible for anything that requires very deep technical skills. I just hire the operational people that will do the technical things, because I don't enjoy it. It doesn't give me any joy, and it drains me of my energy. So it's not something that I should be spending my time doing. If I wake up in the morning, I want to be able to jump out of bed because I'm super energized. Not that I'm like, oh my God, I have to do this other technical thing and I got to learn it. So yeah, it took me about a decade to realize these are my strengths, But yeah, that's the 20% spike.
I'm glad you mentioned that it took you a decade, because even for me, it took a long time to understand and see what is it that I'm actually good at. And there was a lot of, okay, I studied engineering. I'm never going to work as an engineer. My first year, I was like, dude, I am never going to be an engineer. This stuff sucks. I never want to do it. But there's nothing better to do, so I'll just stick with this for now.
Right.
And then when I left, I was like, I didn't look for any engineering jobs. And I was like, I'm not doing this. But I feel like it takes a certain kind of self-honesty to look at yourself and be like, whatever I may have done in the past is one thing, but today, like literally today, I can just take a blank sheet and start fresh. With everything that I have gathered, I can start fresh. I don't have to follow the set pattern. I don't have to do what the person who, let's say like you went to university for whatever, and there's like 10, 30, 100, well, that's very few, many thousands of people, but you all did the same thing, and now you left. So today, what are you going to do? You have the same experience as somebody else. Are all 1,000 of you going to go and do the same thing? Like, are you all going to go from, 2 years of engineering, then MBA, then McKinsey for 10 years? Like, you know what I mean? Like, everybody is thinking the same way. But if you really look at it, you're a unique individual. If you leverage your uniqueness, something even more beautiful can blossom. And it takes time, though. Like, I'm glad you said, like, it took you a decade to realize. Even for me, like, I don't know. I'm still figuring it out.
Process, because you keep discovering, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's an ongoing process. It's not like there's an end goal and you stop discovering, but but at some point you know what you do know, and you continue to build on it, and you can get
Hmm.
better and better, and that can be a lifelong journey. Like getting really good at something and really understanding and getting a grasp of those skills on a very fundamental level. Oh yeah, it's like a tennis player, right? It's never like they can reach an end point to their skills. They can only get better and better and better, and it's not necessarily incrementally; it's exponentially. So all of these people that we see on the world stage that are amazing at storytelling, they've been honing their craft every single day, right? They like Dave Chappelle, for example, one of the greatest comedians of all time.
Hmm.
He hones his craft every single day for hours at a stretch, so that when he gets on stage, he's one of the greatest storytellers. That he can move you to tears and get you to laugh, you know. But it's not an accident. It was like a lot of work to keep honing it. So yes, there's a whole period of self-reflection and discovery is when you start realizing, well, what's your 20% spike? And then once you realize that there's work to be done to actually develop the spike and to make it a pointed arrow, you have to keep
Hmm.
sharpening that saw, sharpening the arrow, right? And that's work as well. But it's exciting work because
Yeah.
if it energizes you, you want to do it. It doesn't feel like work. It's energizing you. The fact that you engage in the things that you're passionate about and you're doing it and developing it energizes you to do more of it. So it's not a slog, you know.
Yeah.
And
And that's how, sorry, you cut off.
that's yeah, that's how it's meant to be.
Yeah, exactly. And as long as I think that's what yesterday's thing was very important, which is stop doing the things that don't actually matter. Because if you have things in your routine that are not impactful towards the 20%, towards your 20% spike, then you're not doing yourself any justice. Because otherwise, if you focus on the 20% spike, you could do what might take 100 years in 10 years. Like that excites me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what if I could do what takes 100 years in 10 years? What if I could do what takes 10 years in 1 year? What if I could do in 1 month what takes 1 year? And like with my clients, I just like implant this and I'm like, I am here for you. Like, if you are totally willing, we will like iterate every single day and just create that exponential transformation that you're really looking for. But it takes a lot of not a lot. It's very simple stuff. You just have to shift away from what you've been doing, which is simple, but it's difficult to implement. And but I feel that is the most important thing.
Mm.
And so I'm glad. Yesterday and today, I feel really shone some light on this,
Yeah.
and so I'm glad. And I think tomorrow is what is tomorrow?
Recruit the support of coach.
Which is interesting because we were both literally. Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, recruit the support of potent allies, which is interesting because the both of us we were literally just speaking about this.
Exactly. Exactly. It's,
So I'm excited to discuss this tomorrow.
yeah. And somebody else has to come do the 80%, right? So
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to do this part. I'm just going to do what I'm good at. Well, you got to find the right people to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to get too much into it, but it also means it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to lead other people as like the leader or as the number one or whatever. It's about coming together and co-creating that. And there are different people who take at different points in time, different people will be the leaders.
Hmm. Correct.
That's the way it should be. It's like this beautiful wave of things. I'm trying to create a visual, but I don't think that's going to get transmitted. But anyways, everybody, will see you tomorrow. Do you want to set a time?
Yeah, sure. I think I'm all of tomorrow.
Sorry, you got cut off again.
Yeah, isn't that strange?
Yeah.
I'm flexible all of tomorrow morning.
You're flexible tomorrow morning? Okay, I think I'm also flexible. I just am waiting to, oh, something. Oh, there we go. I think can probably same time should be okay. I'm just waiting for my calendar to load just in case. Okay. 3:30 we did, right? Yeah. Or can we do 3? Does that work for you?
Yeah, that works for me.
3. Okay, cool. All right, everybody. Tomorrow 3 p.m. Um, Eastern time, New York time, and 12 p.m. LA time, Pacific time. So we will see you all. Okay.
Okay, see you then.
See ya.